particularly tricky adjustment on a grimer right before your appointment, so needless to say, it ran just a bit over on our projected time. So we do appreciate your patience, and now let's begin with our, what time is it? 4 o'clock appointment. So before we begin, I need to confirm your identity via some personal information, if you don't mind. First, what is your first name? All right, and the last. Perfect. Thank you. And trainer ID. There you are. We have you in our system. It looks like you are bringing in a Charmander. Is that correct? Perfect. I really do enjoy working with the Charmander species and its evolutionary line, particularly Charmander and Charmeleon. The Charizard species can be quite temperamental, but still a much welcomed challenge. So let's go ahead and get a bit of information on that Charmander. All right. So what level is your Charmander? Okay. And how long have you had it with you? All right. Perfect. No, that shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. And give or take, how many times do you estimate that it has fainted while in battle? It's not a reflection on your abilities as a trainer. We all know that our Pokemon faint from time to time, and it helps us gauge really what to expect with each Pokemon. All right. Yes, you can count that or not. It's not going to drastically adjust our viewpoint here, but your call. All right, not a problem. All right. And was your Charmander a wild capture, meaning that you battled and captured it in the wild or in a location in which you traveled? Or was your Charmander a domestic acquisition, such as a starter Pokemon granted to you by a Pokemon professor, or a gift or prize, anything like that? Okay, that's interesting. All right. Just jotting down a few notes here. Okay. And are there any particular allergies to berries or held items, medicine items, anything like that that you are aware of and that we should be aware of? Things like oranberry, allergies, carbos, anything like that. Okay, all right. All right, and last but not least, what is your primary reason for visiting us here today? Okay. All right, so your Charmander is experiencing weak fire output when using fire-based attacks. Okay. All right, we have seen that become fairly common in that species and some other fire type Pokemon from time to time. Nothing to be too alarmed by, but we are glad that you brought it in for consultation. Okay, so when is the weak fire output most noticeable? Is there a particular attack that it struggles the most with? This might help us locate the area on the body in which the Charmander is having the most problems with. Okay, so most noticeable when using Ember. I Was assuming that would be the answer. That's the most common problem area for that fire output issue. All right. And are its ailments increased or decreased with physical activity? All right. That sounds typical. So, doesn't sound like it should be too serious, but we'll know more after the examination and adjustment. Okay, so I have everything figured up here and finalized. I just need a quick signature for your permission to work on your Charmander here today. And thank you very much. And authorization complete. Perfect. All right, so we will head to the back and get your Charmander nice and comfortable on our adjustment table and see if there's anything that we can do to help that weak fire output or just provide some much needed relief to your little Pokemon companion there. All right, let's go ahead and head that way. Follow me. All right, it looks like your Charmander is already sleeping peacefully, which will help it enjoy this process even that much more. I'm just going to conduct a brief visual examination just to make sure that there are not any other obvious injuries or anything that I need to be aware of before I start pressing and moving the body. The first thing I like to look for is the size. That's actually quite warm, which is a great sign, but the size and brightness of that tail flame. A nice, bright, burning flame there, like your Charmander has, is an indication of good overall internal health. I know that it is struggling with some flame output, but due to the size and health of that tail flame, that indicates to me that the problem is more superficial and easily improved. So that is great. I'm also just going to look at skin pigmentation. Sometimes with the Charmander species, if there is an issue with flame production internally, it can result in slight yellow colorations on the skin, but your Charmander does not seem to possess anything like that. So once again, a great sign and a sign that our adjustment should do the trick. Alright, so everything looks great. The first thing physically I'm going to do is just palpate the areas of concern, which of course with flame output issues will be the neck. Now your Charmander, in case you're not aware, down at the bottom side of the jaw here on either side, they have two large flame glands that help produce that fire internally for output through the mouth, and then a nice burn off at the tail. So one thing that you'll notice with this type of issue with Charmander is if you palpate those glands there, yes, just like I'm feeling there, like I thought, there is quite a bit of inflammation there, and what that's typically from is inflammation that starts here at the neck and radiates down. As we get inflammation and scar tissue in these vertebral joints along that neck and down the spine, it causes the trapezius muscles, which run from the base of the skull down to the arms and along the spine. It causes those to tighten and become irritated, which then produces more pressure and constriction to those flame glands, and quite simply cuts off its ability to produce and distribute a healthy flame. So what we will do first is we will simply give a nice massage here to those trapezius muscles. As these muscles begin to loosen up, it will allow us to work a bit more on the skeletal structure of your Charmander. As long as those muscles remain tight, there's no real use in trying to adjust the joints themselves because those muscles will hold them in place. Alright, and now we're also going to simply massage along each side of the spine down the back and really make sure that everything is loosened up and ready for the adjustment. Alright, and down and up. As we know, with pain in the neck, it usually radiates down the back or up through the neck into the skull. So we just want to make sure that your Charmander is ready for the upcoming adjustment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ever so slightly, ever so gently work my way under the chin of your Charmander there. Okay, perfect. I'm going to place my hand nice and firmly on the back, and we're just going to test that mobility of the neck. And as I suspected, there is quite a bit of limited movement and side to side. Yes, still a problem. Okay, so I'm now going to, on the count of 3, get a brief but effective adjustment of that base of the neck vertebrae. Alright, Charmander, be ready. 3, 2, 1. Alright, and there's the first one. Not too bad. That's great. Okay, let's go ahead and test that out. Alright, still quite stiff. Once again, 3, 2, 1. Alright, that's great. How's that feeling? So far so good, but still a long way to go. Yeah, those glands are still quite stiff. Alright, so what we will do is a slightly, ever so gently there, slightly more aggressive approach. So I'm going to work my hand to the side and place a stabilizing arm on the back. Alright, and we're going to be doing a slight twisting motion. Not to worry, it will alleviate a lot of that tension. Alright, 3, 2, 1, and perfect. How's that feel? Alright, a little better. Let's get one more right there. 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Just massage that out just ever so slightly. Perfect. Alright, so now we will switch sides. I will gently lift that head. Alright, 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Great job, Charmander. Great job. Alright, once more. 3, 2, 1. Alright, that was a good one. Great work. Let's palpate and reevaluate. Okay, we are getting there. I'm going to do a maneuver that I don't usually have to do unless I am working with Charmander or Charmeleon species. So I'm going to place a hand right along that gland. I call this a glandular adjustment, and we're just going to press to the side. 3, 2, 1. All right, and palpate. Perfect. Okay, and the other side. 3, 2, 1. Alright. And palpate. Great. Okay, so now, as you, I'm sure, are aware, pain in the neck can radiate down the spine here, and the Charmander species have very pronounced spinous processes, which are that part of the spine, part of each vertebrae that you can feel when you place your hand on a creature's back. And older, more vintage Charmander species that we don't usually see as much now have even larger processes on the spine here, sometimes even looking at like a sort of spike on the back. Once again, more rare to see these days, but I have seen species with that, so they are very prone to inflammation in this area. So we are just going to work our way down each vertebrae, and we're just going to palpate, 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 palpate. 3, 2, 1, and adjust. Perfect. Working our way down, palpate, 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 and 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Working our way down, palpate, palpate, palpate. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. How are we feeling down the spine there? Alright, there's a little bit more inflammation there. Palpate, 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 and 3, 2, 1. Excellent. And one sign that you have successfully begun to loosen that area up is if you can smoothly work your hands down the fibrous tissue of that muscle without hanging up on a knot or stiff section of the muscle. Alright, so let's work our way back up into these trapezius muscles. Those are feeling much better, but I can tell, working our way down here to the scapula, which is the shoulder blade section, that we have some issues due to the front positioning of Charmander's arms. It does place a lot more tension on that scapula and the muscles surrounding it. So one maneuver we can pull is to just gently place our hand under the arm and pull it ever so slightly back, which will elevate the scapula, allowing us to feel the edge of that bone. Perfect, right here. And we're just going to place our hand ever so firmly here. And 3, 2, 1. Alright, excellent, perfect. Alright, let's go to the other side here. Gently under the arm, firmly on that raised scapula, and 3, 2, 1. There we go, that's great. Alright, that's feeling a lot looser. Alright, and last but not least, we need to go down to the top of the hips, since Charmander's body usually leans slightly forward. Those hips, they have a big job of balance and stabilization, which can place a lot of pressure on the posterior side of the iliac crest, which is the top of your hip bones there. So, yeah, right there, there's quite a bit of tension. So we're just going to place a hand on either side, and we're just going to balance that out. 3, 2, 1. All right. One more, it looks like. 3, 2, 1. Okay. That's much better. Okay. So let's reevaluate up here. The neck and trapezius is feeling a lot more free, and once again you can see as my hands gently glide along that fibrous tissue of that muscle, you can see how the knots have melted away. And let's check some palpations of of that flame gland here. That's feeling great. Let's move just a little. Alright, yes, as you can see, that mobility is much better. I can tell that your Charmander is feeling a lot of relief. Okay, there's still just a bit of hang up here. There must be, right there, there's still a bit of more residual tissue inflammation, so let me get a hand on it right there. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. All right, perhaps one more there. 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right, one more test of those flame glands. You know what? They are feeling completely freed up. I think that your ember issue will be quite resolved. So, in terms of adjustments, I think your wonderful Pokemon pal, Charmander, has had quite enough and all that it needs. So let's go ahead and head to the front and get you on your way. Alright, great job, Charmander. Very proud of you. Follow me. Alright, so not so bad, was it? I know your Charmander is feeling much, much better than it was when you initially arrived, which is all we can hope for on any given day or consultation with a Pokemon. So we are very, very thrilled that you chose to bring your Charmander to us today. What I do want to go ahead and set you up with is I recommend that you perform a set of static stretches on that problem neck area there. What you want to do is have 3 sets of 30-second static stretches where you tilt your Charmander's head from side to side and hold for 30 seconds, rest, and repeat 3 times each side and twice a day. Following that regimen, and you should be able to provide your Charmander with just a bit more mobility and hopefully slow down that recurring inflammation as we see oh so too often. And I do want to go ahead and put in a prescription for charcoal to give a nice boost to your Charmander's alien fire type moves to go along with the improvements that we've made today. You can pick that up here at the Pokemart. I will send it via our digital system and they'll have your prescription in just the next hour or so, so you can swing by before you leave town here. Sure, you just have your Charmander hold that item. You can use a simple necklace with it hanging on the necklace there. You can have a pouch that your Charmander wears on its back, anything. And as long as it's holding the charcoal on it, then it will experience the improvements and increase to its fire type attack. Alright, and let's go ahead and get you scheduled for a 3-week revisit to go ahead and make sure that those improvements have held fast to your Charmander and it doesn't need any further evaluations or adjustments. And of course, if you find it necessary to bring your Charmander in before the 3-week period, feel absolutely free. Are there any questions? Alright, well, it was absolutely a pleasure to serve your Charmander and yourself here today. Please call us if you have any concerns or questions about treatment, and don't forget to pick up that prescription from the Pokemart to get your charcoal. Of course, your Pokemon insurance should cover that, but if there is any issue with the rates or anything like that, just please let us know. Alright, it was great to meet you. Have a wonderful